You're listening to High Frequency Healing on the Superpowered Up podcast, the show that explores the awakening of superpowers through higher dimensional healing.
Hello, this is AngelaMaría, one of the Superpowered Up hosts, and you're listening to High Frequency Healing Show. The only difference between where you are to where you want to be is the actions you take here and now to heal your life. So let's take a deep breath and be here and now. I invite you to enjoy this time together. So here we go. Let's welcome Kayla Oceanna to my show today. We will be talking about it is time for women power. At 21, after graduating with her bachelor's degree in psychology, Kayla was intuitively called to move with just $200 and her rebel spirit from Alabama to Taiwan, a land she knew nothing about and where she knew no one. It was in following this calling that she met Goddess Kwan Yin. She fell to the goddess's feet, curled up, and wept. In her 11 years in Taiwan, she was graced with immersion in Daoism, Buddhism, yoga, and Tantra. She went deep into meditation practices and began to guide classes, workshops, and spiritual circles. Recently, Kayla was called back to the United States. It is her life's purpose to continue to deepen to the remembrance of who she is, human, soul, and spirit, and to support others on their journey of remembrance as love in the name of the One Heart. Please join me to welcome Kayla Oceanna. Kayla, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, AngelaMaría. It's so great to be here with you. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you for spending your precious time and energy with me. I'm so grateful to be here with you and your community.
Thank you. This is an honor. So, Kayla, what's your healing superpower?
Okay, so one of my healing superpowers deals with how I support empaths and highly sensitive people and other creatives to really embrace their sensitivities and their uniqueness. So my healing superpower in this case is insight. So I have a gift of joyful insight where I am able to be with another human and really hold the macro, the big picture of what we all came here to do. And when I'm invited in, I have a very insightful, penetrative energy where I can go deep into the microcosm of this other person. And then I have the ability to help guide them to bringing their shadows into the light, and my favorite, into amplifying their light, like really clearing old conditioning and unveiling their essence so that they can step into their own superpowers.
Wow, Kayla, that's so awesome. Do you know how many people, because I've been working on me a lot, and when you were saying it, I said, oh my God, it's so cool. Somebody can really help and guide and turn that light on and amplify it with all these energy movement we are having right now. Because again, and I've said it many times, this is about healing in a high frequency. This is not just about the body or the mind or the soul or the spirit. This is about a high frequency healing that you need to embrace who you are as a whole to be able to take your life to a different level. And your body speaks, your soul, your desires, your fears. But when you are able to see your light and you're really able to see further and amplify that energy and that power, there are no limits. So it's so beautiful, Kayla, that those are your healing superpowers, because I count like 3 right there.
Great. The trifecta.
Yes, I love it. Because that's something else. I don't think it's just one. It is one that also unfolds the magic in different levels. So it's not just about one, it's about who we really are. We are divinities and we are powerful. And that's a proof of that, Kayla.
That's so true. And this is one of my biggest joys as well, in helping people unveil their essences on all of those layers that you're talking about, AngelaMaría, because we are all these unique blueprints who came here with very specific gifts that are individualized. Like, we have these amazing powers and superpowers that are different from everybody else. And yes, we are all connected in the one heart, and we are all this one organism, and we are all individuals, right? We are these humans having these awakenings to our spiritualness and really unveiling what it is to be our human selves in the deepest ways is just like so fun and so empowering.
Yes, exactly. So, Kayla, would you please take us back to your early years and name one memorable life lesson that is useful for you today?
Yeah. Okay. So what comes up immediately is I remember when I was about 10 years old, and I was a little girl living in Texas. And I came from a very typical family. And by that, I mean, Christian, and ate a lot of a typical Texan family, ate a lot of meat, watched a lot of TV, that kind of stuff. And I remember how I started to feel animals around me, specifically cows. And I could feel the pain and the suffering of cows. And as I look back as an adult, I realized that actually I was surrounded by factory farms in Texas at the time. And I could actually, like, let's say that there was a burger in front of me or another piece of meat. I could feel the pain and the suffering from the animal that had been killed through the meat. And I would try to share this with my family, and they just thought I was absolutely insane and told me to be quiet. And I remember one night I had just such a clear light just like pour through my body, and a voice that said, "You won't eat animals anymore." And it was just such a clear direction for me that I had to honor it. And so I went downstairs the next morning and I told my mom and my dad that I'm going to be a vegetarian.
Oh my God.
And this was so unheard of. Nobody even knew what a vegetarian was. There was, nobody around us was vegetarian. And they told me no. They were like, we're not making you any food. We're not going to support you in this. And I just stuck to it. So that really shows me how my intuition and my gift of channeling and being able to feel others and being so deeply empathetic, that it's unavoidable for me to honor those things. And I really applaud that little girl who stood her ground and was like, no, I'm not going to contribute to the killing of these animals in that way. So that was a really powerful time for me to realize my deep intuitive knowing and my empathetic powers.
Yeah, and I want to honor you, not just for obviously be able to listen and pay attention to that, but to be able to express it, Kayla. Because one thing is that you receive messages and you channel and you're intuitive, and some other thing at that age, here in the United States, in Texas, surrounded by farms and cows, you were brave enough to tell your parents, no more.
Right.
I'm done with meat. So I want to honor that, because nowadays, and I do believe that more and more kids are being born with that desire, and they don't eat, they don't want it. And so it's so hard for parents to understand and to deal with, and for them, that is a chaos. What are we going to do? The idea is that they need to start preparing something else different. And so I think that's beautiful that you bring that up, because it's also an invitation for the listeners that it's important to listen to our body. It doesn't matter if you're intuitive, but let's listen to our body. Let's ask our body, what would you like to eat? Would you really want to eat this, even if it is salad? Sometimes I don't want to eat salad, and my body feels for fruits and something sweeter. and it's okay. But if we just get that connection to our body, our life is going to change a lot, especially energetically.
That is such a good point. Thank you so much for reflecting that back and offering that out to all the listeners, because I think that just really highlights, again, it's not about not eating meat even, right? Some people, it might feel amazing for them to eat meat and they might be really conscious about it, but really it comes down to choicefulness, right? Like, are we just mindlessly doing the things that kind of everyone else is telling us that we should do, whether it's like overtly or it's just implied, and really to begin to honor what our bodies and our wisdom tell us is right for us. And then we can begin to respect that in others as well, because we aren't here to all be the same, right? Some of us are going to love to eat meat and it's going to be enlightening them and raising their consciousness. And some of us aren't. And that's just another part of the beauty of being a human, you know, like coming here to play this game at being a human being and what it means, and honoring all of us in our uniqueness.
Yes, absolutely. So Kayla, where can people go to find out more about you?
Okay, well, you can go to my website, which is lightandshadowkayla.com. So it's just all one word, lightandshadowkayla.com. And I've got Instagram, which is the same handle. It's at lightandshadowkayla. Facebook, I'm not on so much anymore, but I would say those are the two best channels to find me, to reach me.
We've been talking with Kayla Oceanna about it is time for women power. When we come back from this short break, we are going to talk more about her healing superpowers. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
We are back and you are listening to High Frequency Healing Show. Today, we are talking with Kayla Oceanna about it is time for women power. Kayla, was there a burning bush moment that made your heart desire changing your path in life? Because I was reading and you're a psychologist. So what happened?
Yeah. What happened? Yes. Well, I think, you know, when I have several degrees and one of them was in psychology. And I think I was very spot on when I realized that I didn't want to continue to pursue psychology because it was a little bit too systematic and too rigid for me, and a little bit too steeped in what I now know is the patriarchy. But I was seeking something much more holistic and somatic and spiritual. So leaving that was really spot on for me. But as far as like these burning bush moments, I love this. I kind of feel them as like dark nights of the soul, like these times where I was put through these like really intense trials. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorites was I had an ex, and this is when I was living in Taiwan. And I had an ex, and we were kind of navigating a breakup, and it was getting a little bit heated, and it was getting really challenging. And one night it escalated into violence. And so this was my first experience being physically kind of beat up and physically just really, it was just so animalistic, you know, just to be, I was so just really devastated. Like it was a really challenging thing for me. And I remember just running away, shaking and feeling just so much shame and fear and powerlessness and confusion because I had never been beat up before. I had never experienced that. And thankfully I had a little place to retreat to. I had this little tiny little house in the mountains. And I literally ran away from my boyfriend, my business, my dog, and a lot of my community because of the shame. And, I had a lot of shame about exposing him. And I had a lot of shame about what had happened. And I went into a really, really dark place. All kinds of shadows were coming up. And I was able, thankfully, I had the resourcing from some years of doing work. And I also knew exactly who to reach out to for support, for somatic support at really like moving this traumatic experience through my body so that it didn't get held onto. Mm-hmm. And so what it did is it really gave me the practice in the moment to transmute and to allow this trauma to flow and be felt so deeply in its entirety, to feel the fear of being alone, to feel the deep depths and despair of loneliness, to feel the depression, to feel all of the shame of what it meant to be a woman who was beat up and who has been sexually abused, and all of those things that we as women have kind of carried in our collective for so long, for so many years through our ancestry, and to feel it all so deeply. And I just lived in this little mountain. I remember it was winter. It was just so intense. And I spent every day going deep and allowing myself to feel it all, embrace it all. And in doing so, to allow it to alchemize. And that was a really, really powerful juncture for me in my life, because I went up against a lot of seeming opposition. I lost friends. I lost a lot of friends who said they didn't believe me. Even my father, said he didn't believe me. And that was a lot to process. And when I came through, I was not a woman to be messed with anymore. I knew my worth. I knew. I was so empowered through that. And also, AngelaMaría, I was so filled with compassion, for me, for the ex, for the friends, for all the people who don't believe it, who aren't able to really be with all of the shadows of our society, and just filled with compassion for me and for him and all of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the kind of experiences that you need to listen and breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I honor you for that.
Thank you, sister.
So, Kayla, what is about the Goddess Kwan Yin that made such an impact in your life and mission? And by the way, let me tell you that I love this goddess, and every time I see her or I hear about her, I just bow and put my hands on my heart, because it's a very special energy. But please, 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 I want you to be the one telling us about this goddess.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for presencing her. Such a gift to us in this world, this energy of, in Chinese, her name is pronounced Kwan Yin. And so that's how I normally say her name, Kwan Yin. That's how I met her. And, for me, I think she can represent many different things for many different people, depending on where we are. But for me, when I moved to Taiwan, and I didn't know why I had moved there. And I was hiking in a mountainside one day, and I came across this giant statue of Kwan Yin. She was like 4 stories high, all white, these flowing robes of white clothing her. And I literally, as you read at the beginning, I curled up at her feet into a ball, and I began to weep. And I can try to put words on it now. It was something like just a feeling of coming home, a deep remembrance. And what I began to learn is I began to know her more and more, because, oh my goddess, Taiwan is the land of Kwan Yin. And I had no idea. She's everywhere. She's on every mountainside. She's in so many homes. She's in every temple, Buddhist and Taoist. She permeates the place.
Whoa.
So it was such a magical place. And so I was being just permeated by her energies. And yeah, to have a goddess where I grew up, you know, in a very spiritually void culture personally. And I had never experienced a goddess at all. And to see this goddess who was everywhere, who was fully embraced by men and women alike, who was in every temple. And I became very connected to a temple there, where there was a nun, and she ran the temple, and she was a devout channel of Kwan Yin. And she really taught me a lot about this goddess and the energy. You know, Kwan Yin is she who hears the cries of the suffering. And for me, it means she hears the cries of the suffering and she allows it to come in and then move through, being alchemized and transmuted into light and love. And then she offers that light and love out in response to the suffering. And our world, I know we all know who are listening, our world is so just chock full of suffering right now, right? We're at a very potent, powerful place, a tipping point, and there's so much suffering. And so for me, she really shows me how I can, as a very intuitive and empathic person, which all of us are in many ways, hear those cries, feel the suffering, bring it into my heart space. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, and transmute it into love. Allow it to flow. Allow it to be felt deeply. Allow it to have a place to land and be home and be shifted and be changed and be seen. Because so much of our suffering is about suppression or repression, not wanting to be with something, not wanting something to be there. And to be able to embrace so fully all of the deepest, darkest, most terrifying pieces, to see them, to say, I see you, I hold you, you are okay, all is well, and allow that shame to be transmuted is something that she really, really taught me.
Wow. And I also love the energy and how your voice changed when you start talking about Kwan Yin. I've learned something new, and I love when I can go to bed with a new learning.
Yay!
Kwan Yin. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I do believe that it's so powerful, especially if you're an empath. But even if you are not an empath, and I want to share a really, really short anecdote about this goddess. I was with a friend, and she introduced these cards to me, and she said, this is so weird, Angela. You love cards, so you may understand this. And she said that every time that she was just playing with the cards, because she didn't understand why she felt so attracted to them, always Kwan Yin was the goddess that showed up. And those cards were in English, and my friend lives in Colombia. So she said, and I don't even understand what it says. I use Google, but Google doesn't help. I said, no, this is not about Google, girl. You need to feel the card and feel the message. So when I went through all the message and I explained to her, kind of translated, and we did a meditation with the card, we ended up the day, bye, ciao. Months later, she called me and said, Angela, you know how I am. She is not the most sensitive woman. She has problems to connect with emotions. She said that since you read that card to me, I felt this need to keep it under my pillow. And she travels a lot. And when I have to travel, I take it with me. And I never said anything to anybody because I know her, and these kind of things are kind of weird for her. So she said, I didn't want to tell anybody that I was just carrying a card of a goddess, not even Virgin Mary, but a goddess. Because if you don't know, Colombia is a very Catholic country still. Right. She said, it's unbelievable. I start feeling, she's a trainer, a CEO of trainers. So she works with people about technology, about systems, computers. She said, you cannot imagine how I start feeling why the people I have in front of me were struggling. I can feel. They didn't want to say, they didn't understand. And I was feeling that, and it was so weird. So long story short, that energy of that goddess also helps you to connect to your emotions, because she has the power of exactly feel the pain, feel that intense emotion inside you that sometimes you don't even know what it is. So that's why I thought it was so important that we share this, because I want the world, especially in this energy healing, to know Kwan Yin.
Yeah, such a great story.
I have a curiosity, Kayla. So you were walking in the mountain. It was the first time you saw her, because you told us, I didn't have any idea about this. So how did you know who she was? Or do you already know before going and seeing her? Or it was just like those urge that you feel like, I need to connect to this piece of stone, because basically that's what it was before you really know who she was.
So true. Yeah. It was just it was like she was calling me. So I just went on a random hike, I'm doing air quotes, random hike. And I just I remember I like turned a corner, and then boom, there she is. And just like from my gut, I just knew, like, lie down, just go to her. And then, there was actually a temple nearby. There was a Buddhist temple nearby. And I went and inquired, just, who is this? What is this? What's happening? What's going on? Like, how do I get more? Tell me more.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, it was amazing. And no one spoke English, and I didn't speak any Mandarin at the time. And we communicated just energetically for a couple of years. I went to the temple and I meditated 3 times a week for an hour each time. I had my own special little cushion, and I would sit down in front of the altar, and they had a Kwan Yin on the altar as well. And we just communicated energetically through our hearts, without the language to connect on. But I knew her name was Kwan Yin. They told me that.
Wow. Okay. So I would love to know more about the healing experience that you went through, because there is something inside me that is telling me it wasn't just about this experience with your ex-boyfriend. There was something else that guided you there. And I think that was like, boom, now you need to go inside. So could you please go and tell us a little bit, because this is so important for everybody who's listening. Sometimes we think, because our body works and I don't have any physical pain, I'm healthy. But life is just so beautiful, and you may have some broken parts inside you, and we do not need the body or a painful experience out there to show up and start the journey inside.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, we don't have to have those really intense experiences, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so true. So I would say that one thing that started happening for me was just becoming more aware of subtle things in my life. For example, I would say there are so many layers to this. So let's say in the beginning, I was a pretty easygoing person, and I would get along with everybody, and I was pretty happy, and everything seemed pretty good. And then there was this time where something kind of started to shift, and I was getting really, really irritated and really angry and really just frustrated. And I was just experiencing all of these, so-called negative emotions. And so like that shift in how I thought I was, like something else starting to come up was sort of like a flashing light, it's like, hey, you need to wake up, pay attention, like what's going on here. And so what was coming up is it was the time for me to start embracing anger and other things like that. And so in these places where I used to be, it would be like in yoga workshops and yoga teacher trainings or meditation retreats, you know? Normally I would have been like, oh, this is amazing. I'm so peaceful. Like, this is great. Like, I'm so close to being enlightened. And then there came a time where I was at one in particular, a teacher training, and I was just getting like really irritated and I was really angry. And every single woman was just, you know, making me really angry. And I just remember being like, what is going on? Like, why am I so angry? Why do I have to be so angry? And I was really being called to embrace this part of myself that I had been sort of refusing to accept. Mm-hmm. And so that was a time where I really embraced anger, and I really got into that. So that's just one little example, like just bringing our awareness a little bit more deeper, I think, and just having more awareness. It might just happen naturally, you know, for a lot of us. So being aware of those little shifts in how we used to be, and noticing where there's time for changes to be made.
You said something that is really important, and I would say crucial in life. Do not talk about healing. Just put that on the side. But the ability to look at yourself and realize and say, hey, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling angry? And we don't ask those questions because we are always pointing out, oh, of course, because you did, because you say, because you are unable, so it's your fault. But when we are able to turn the mirror and see our reflex on the mirror and say, wait a minute, why am I getting angry? Yes, maybe the other person yelled at me. Yes, maybe there was something now social accepted that happened, but why am I reacting this way? Because I can tell you, sometimes people yell at me and I feel like that's funny. But if there are certain people that do it to me, of course I understand now it's not to me, but if that situation happens with a specific person, I feel either sad, frustrated, or angrier, and I start reacting. And I, boom, go away, boom. So the invitation here is just, you have the ability just to go inside and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Even if for your ego, there is a reason. Mm-hmm. The exercise is just turn around to yourself and, why am I reacting? Yeah, maybe this person yelled at me, but why did I react? Why did I take it personal? Because that person and that anger is talking about her process or his process, not about you. So it would be so nice and so healing if from now on we start taking our feelings and our emotions as me. And that would be so powerful.
So true. I love that invitation. Yeah, turning everything back inside and really examining and yes. And, you know, taking it not as like, oh, I'm doing something wrong or look how bad I am, but more like, ooh, what is this thing? Like, ooh, I get to play with this thing now. Like, okay, let's see what this has to teach me is really powerful medicine.
Oh, yeah. And I honor you for being able to do that because it's I'm not saying it's easy. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
You're going to be able to do it once, maybe not twice. And it may have some time before you dare to do it again.
So true. Yeah, we can talk about it all day, but then, you know, catch us in the moment. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. But I do believe that if you were brought to this podcast and if you are listening, it's because part of you is ready to do this. I am completely sure. You are ready to do this, at least to start trying to do this. Okay, Kayla. So why it is time for women empowerment?
Oh, because there's just no other option. I mean, it's just how it is. Like, it is happening of its own accord. It has a life of its own. We are at the time where we are shifting from the toxic masculine, and we are bringing back in the the feminine energies. We are reawakening to the divine feminine, and in doing so to the divine masculine in its cleanest, clearest, most purest form. And we're bringing both of those in. And so, you know, what that looks like is, unfortunately, for a lot of women, like just having been so disempowered because so many women represent the feminine energies. And so, yes, women and men, you know, honestly, I think the women being empowered is going to also just lift the men up out of their toxic masculinity even more. And it can't not happen at this point. It is happening. It is already now and here.
Yeah, and I would like to make an emphasis in something. We don't need to heal the divine feminine. It's already divine. It's already healed.
Yes.
What do we need to do is integrate it in us along with the divine masculine. There are two energies that we cannot separate from each other.
Yeah.
They are there, and it's time now to bring it back. The point is that the way this society has worked, or this world has been functioning, is that we have been more centered and focused on this masculine energy. And we had, because it was perfect too, forgotten this other feminine energy, that divinity that is also feminine. It's not just masculine. So that's the invitation. And I know it's a long approach, and then that would be another topic for another interview about divine, feminine, and masculine. But now
yes.
I think that's so important. And that's why it is the time for women empowerment. There is not other way. It's now. That knowledge is bringing back. It's coming to us for a reason, and we cannot ignore it. And it's not, and I also want to make emphasis in this, it's not about we, women, like blaming on men or complaining about men or saying, yes, because then you have been oppressing us for years. And no. Just honor ourselves as women and recognize the power we are inside, and recognize those two energies and how those two energies play inside us. And when we are able to align it and balance it, we can connect to our manifestation power. We can create consciously what we really would like to create in this life experience.
Mm-hmm. Amen, sister. Woman.
Amen. Kayla, support people in their journey of remembrance as love in the name of the one heart. That I read it and I got goosebumps. Could you please tell us more about this? That is your mission. You did it with yourself, and now you are guided to do it with people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that gives me goosebumps too, to just hear that read back. I think, again, with this, the empowerment of women and the awakening that we're all in, I couldn't not do this. Really, my thing in life is doing what lights me up at this point and what brings me joy. And that is my divining rod. That shows me where I'm doing the right things and connecting, especially one-on-one with women, and really facilitating and helping guide and support women in feeling their divinity, knowing their essence, and being able to show up in the world as that. And thus, we are all weaving the web of the one heart, because we are all connected in that way as well, is just my greatest joy. I couldn't do it any other way. And I just feel like I get to be this cheerleader, for all of us. Like, yes, here we are. We all have this calling. We came here to do this thing. And, if I resonate with someone, then perfect. And we're all going to resonate with different people in our different ways and express our gifts differently. And I'm just along for the ride, really showing up in what I'm being called to do as my part in the one heart. And it's just such a gift. It's such a joy. I'm just having a great time.
Yes. And I love that. And I want to say it again. Joy is your compass. If you're doing something good, if you're following your heart, if you're letting yourself be guided for that inner master inside you, you're feeling joy. You feel it. And I think that's so important. Again, for you to be able to feel joy. We are not talking about happiness. We are not talking about smiling or oh my God, this is so cool. We are talking about joy. That for me is a deeper emotion. And for that, you need to go inside and you need to have experienced yourself inside you. But once you have that step checked, then start letting joy to guide your choices, to guide your mission, to lead you through life. That is so powerful, Kayla. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for reflecting that back. You have such a gift for reflection.
Yeah, I was a teacher 23 years, and I needed to make it easier for my students. So I know that for some people this may sound like wow, but we need to bring that back. We need to put that here into this third dimension, and what does it mean? So Kayla, what has been one of the most beautiful or powerful processes you have guided or supported that you could share with us?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's been so many. And just what's popping up right now for me is a client, a client that I recently just finished. I love doing these 6-moon deep dive journeys with people to help them kind of work through their shadows and unveil their essences. And I just finished with a client. And when she came to me, she was racked in guilt and shame and conditioning. There had been some stuff that had been going on with her partner, and without going into too much detail, it was just one of those, really, again, like a dark night of the soul. And she came to me and she was just so committed, like that's something that touches my heart so much, is when someone is ready to show up and be held in the tough stuff because they're done with it. There's no more space to do those things anymore, to shame themselves, to feel the guilt, to lower their self-worth, to project onto others, to let jealousy and competition rule their lives. So that was really powerful with her because, we just finished the journey and she now, wow, like her, I'm like, wow, like her relationship has taken a total shift, like such a loving shift. And she now is doing this program that she really wants to do. She actually is ready to offer her services into the world in a big way as a healer as well. And this is just big picture, but I think this really speaks for the process with me or with anybody, who's a mentor. When you commit to something and you are ready to really show up and go in and see all the dirty bits and bring the joy into everything, that it really will allow you to get out of the way of yourself. And that's what happened with this woman. She got out of her own way. The conditioning, she was able to start creating new neural pathways through like deep meditations that we did, and really continuing to support those neural pathways in reintegrating a whole new way of being into herself, into her system. And that, what you were talking about earlier, AngelaMaría, she was so good at really bringing everything back to herself. Instead of putting it out on someone else, she committed. And she was aware of her choicefulness in really turning things back inside and bringing them in and doing the work from the inside. And her life has just completely radically transformed. Like, I just think it's so cool. Just sitting with her at the end and just like laughing. And of course, it's not the end of the road. Like, obviously she's not like done and everything's perfect and it'll be all rainbows and butterflies. But, but
it's a good process.
Exactly. Like, we all go through the layering and we'll go deeper and deeper each time. And I just think to see this transformation is so cool.
Thank you for the work you do to this humanity. I do believe that when you are able, because this comes from a brave heart. This is not easy. What you choose to do, what I choose to do, this is not like, oh my God, yeah, they make a lot of money just guiding people. Because I do believe it's your experience. Every time you're walking with somebody else, you go back deeper into yourself.
Yeah, so
it's
true.
Not you helping them. It's them helping you to go deeper into your own self and your own divinity. And that's something like, wow. Okay.
So true.
Share with us these steps or tips for anyone to start their own healing super process of healing. Healing. Like, you know what I mean, right? I put a word that shouldn't be there. But to start this healing process. There you go.
Yes. Okay. To start the healing process, what's coming up for me right now, number one, ding, 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 is stop fighting yourself. Stop fighting yourselves. You know, all these little pieces of you that have been fragmented and have been closeted off and suppressed and repressed. And you think you should be a different way. You should change. You should be more like someone else. You shouldn't, et cetera, et cetera. Take a deep breath and just cut it out. This whole fighting ourselves is so destructive. And what I am really a champion for is embracing all of it. When we start embracing all of what is showing up, when everything is welcome, that's where magic really starts to happen.
Oh yeah, amen. I love that.
Yes. So that was just one. Do you want more?
I'm waiting for the second one, Kayla. That was
yes. That was yeah. So what else wants to come up? Yeah, you know, something else that I think is really helpful to bring our awareness to a little bit of a deeper place is something called the drama triangle. Do you know about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can just say it for our listeners, go ahead.
Definitely. So in the drama triangle, this is just a really fun way to see how you're interacting with others. If you think of a triangle, a lot of the times if we're operating from an unconscious sort of conditioned behavior, then we are probably sitting on this triangle of the perpetrator, the victim, or the rescuer. So just being aware as you go through your interactions with others throughout your day, is there a place where you are taking on the role of victim? It's often a victim in my experience. The rescuer.
Especially women.
Yeah, exactly. The rescuer, which is also huge for women, or the perpetrator. And so just being really aware, where are you trying to be that part of the triangle and then putting someone else in another place? And so as long as we're engaged energetically in this drama triangle, we're going to be perpetuating those unconscious behaviors and conditioned patterns of destructiveness. And so just being aware, going, oh, wait, in that interaction with my husband, am I trying to be a victim? Am I wanting to victimize myself? Or am I trying to be rescuer between my parents? Whatever it is, to bring more awareness. And then if you can, maybe playing with just like, I'm just going to take myself out of the triangle. I'm going to play with it. I'm going to take myself out for an hour and see what it feels like. And so in this way, we bring more awareness, and then we can begin to empower ourselves a little bit without even needing a mentor or support. So drama triangle, number 2.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your life, for sharing your superpowers, and for sharing what is life about. Life is about this. Life is about joy. Life is about embracing who we are. So let's remind listeners where they can go to find out more about you.
Yes, you can go to my website at lightandshadowkayla.com, or you can find me on Instagram at lightandshadowkayla.
Thank you again for sharing your healing superpowers with us today.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me and for holding the space for this to be amplified and shared with others and to inspire others, AngelaMaría. It's really, really beautiful what you're doing. And you have a gift for reflection and space holding. And your enthusiasm is so wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you all of you for joining us today. I am AngelaMaría, Conscious Creation. Change actions, shift energy to live heaven down here on earth. I'll see you next time. And remember, it is time for Women Empowerment.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower Quiz today.